So one of the questions I get a lot from clients is how much does my credit score matter? So when it comes to commercial or multifamily financing, my answer used to be different. So if you asked me, 6 or 8 months ago, how much does credit matter? I would kind of say what I'm going to tell you now, but it's definitely gotten a little bit more tight, especially with the condition of the market, the economy, and the uncertainty that we're living in right now. But the answer to the question is credit matters with anything you're going to purchase or finance. It absolutely matters, and your credit should be really, really important to you, and you should take care of it and protect it. But that being said, in multifamily or commercial financing, we're not so focused on your score like if you were going to get a residential loan. I believe if you're going to get a residential loan, you get the best rates at a 740 or a 760 FICO. For us, we kind of have this loose guideline. It's a little bit more gray than just black and white for us. So generally speaking, we're looking for a minimum 680 FICO. That is because if you're a real estate investor, you probably have your credit run frequently. You might have had some sort of like a lawsuit or something with a tenant that might be on your credit. So those kinds of things might affect your credit. But as long as you don't have, bankruptcies, mortgage lates, you basically, your credit score is essentially like your report card on how responsible of a human being you are. So if you have bad credit, it sort of speaks to your ability to manage money. So that being said, it is a lot tighter and these days, because obviously we're living in COVID and, what if you can't make your payments, and a lot of people are asking for deferments or forbearance and all these things. So now more than ever, they're looking at your report card to determine that you are a responsible person who can and always does pay your bills. So I like to kind of go by the 5 C's of credit, which is kind of the thing that lenders really look at when they're looking at doing a loan for you. So the first one is your character. What kind of person are you? And that's really what your credit report says. Like, people judge you based on your credit score. What kind of person are you? Are you a person who pays your bills? Are you a person who doesn't pay your bills? Are you a person who buys things that you can't afford? These are the kinds of things that looking at your credit report are going to tell a lender. So it's so important that you make sure to manage that. I mean, it's just like, getting good reviews for your business or, anything like that. If you're applying for an apartment or you're applying for, a job, you're putting your best foot forward. Your credit score is you putting your best foot forward or not. So that's very, very important. Capacity. Capacity is the second C in credit. Now, the capacity means that you can pay your bills. So they are going to look at your income, other sources of income, and make sure that you can, not only is your credit good, but now you have the ability to pay this mortgage that you're applying for. In our case, the property does need to support it. And people ask this question all the time. Well, since the property covers, isn't that the only thing lenders are looking at? Well, no, it's not the only thing they look at. They look at what we call global cash flow. Now, they look at that because what if, God forbid, a pandemic hits and people can't pay their rent, and now you have to put money in and help pay the mortgage, like we're in now. So this is something that lenders definitely take a look at, that you have other cash flow, not only to pay your personal bills, but also that you have a little bit of extra cash left over every month that could help cover the mortgage should something happen and the property not cover. The next thing that they're looking at, the third C, is collateral. So they are taking a look at that piece of property that you're using as collateral. Like, that is their collateral. That's their only guarantee one of their only guarantees. If you can't pay the mortgage and they have to take the property back, would we be okay with this asset? Could we recoup our investment with this asset? So they are going to look at the quality of the asset. So the quality of the property, is it in good condition? Is it in bad condition? Is it in a good location? All of that is going to be a factor in the property. So that's why some lenders, most of the lenders are driving the properties on an annual basis and asking for annual reporting. Not only is it an FDIC requirement, but they also need to make sure that you're keeping up and maintaining the collateral that you've given them in exchange for this loan. So you definitely need to make sure that you're keeping up the property. And also when you go to first apply for that loan, if the property's in a rougher area or if it's not in as good condition, that's why some lenders are not wanting to do these deals for you, because they need to protect their money that they're lending you, and that's through the quality of the collateral that you're putting up. The next thing is capital. So they're going to look at your source of down payment, and they're also wanting to see what kind of cash you have in the bank after you close. Again, it's that kind of rainy day fund, and every lender has kind of an idea of, based on your income and your cash flow and all of that, about how much money you should have saved. So that is definitely an important component, and it's so important even now. So the majority of our lenders are looking for about 10% of the loan amount in what we call post-close liquidity. So that would be cash in the bank. There is some consideration given to your retirement depending on your age. But let's say that you have very little cash in the bank, but you have a lot of money in retirement. In today's environment, that more than likely isn't going to be enough. They're going to want to see that cash in the bank, which is why we have clients, we tell clients, you have to call us if you're planning on doing a renovation or spending a bunch of cash, because you really, if you need to go for a refinance, for example, you need to strike that balance between refinancing before you're renovating that other property and you've utilized all your cash, and not starting too early, not starting too late. Because if you go down to the end of the wire and you don't have very much cash left, and you're like, well, the only reason I don't have cash is because I've been investing it, or I've been putting money back into my properties, that's great, but that's not going to satisfy that requirement of having liquidity. So you definitely want to make sure that you are a borrower that people want to lend to. Generally speaking, our rule of thumb is 10 to 15% of the loan amount in post-close liquidity. Sometimes we will give some credit to cash out, but not always. You can't have, come to me with $5,000 in the bank, but you're asking for $300,000 cash out and say, well, isn't that my cash in the bank? They're going to say, why does this person not have any money in the bank? We don't want to lend to them. They're just going to spend all this money, and then they're going to be in trouble because they've maximized the leverage. They've completely leveraged their property. So very, very important consideration. Now, the last and final C is conditions. So the conditions are, the interest rate that you're getting. They're going to make sure that, the property can support that. They're going to make sure that you can support it. They're really looking at the whole file, and they're also looking at the market condition, which is, like I keep saying right now, the times that we're living in are really uncertain. So a lot of lenders have gotten more conservative on their lending parameters, and they also want borrowers who are stronger. That's because the condition of the market is very uncertain. Nobody knows what's going to happen, and we never do, but we are living in a time, an unprecedented time, and times are a little bit tougher for a lot of people, or a lot tougher. So they're taking into account not just your financial condition, not just the interest rate that they're going to be charging you, making sure that you qualify there, that the property qualifies, but also the overall market condition. So that's why a lot of lenders have gotten more conservative on their guidelines, or have stopped lending altogether, or have decided that they don't want to lend in certain areas. Everybody is assessing the current market condition and deciding what they feel comfortable doing. So there you have it. There are the 5 C's of credit. It's character, capacity, collateral, capital, and conditions.